I'm AgroBlaze96.
And I'm the Woodshed, and welcome to the AgroShed Podcast.
Welcome to the first AgroShed Podcast. I'm AgroBlaze96.
And I'm the Woodshed.
And we are happy to be here hanging out with you guys. I have to say, starting a podcast was a funny idea for me because I use this analogy when I'm streaming, but I feel like everybody has a podcast. Like you hear, it's like the equivalent of like, check out my band from the 90s is what I hear. Everybody's like, oh, check out my podcast, check out my podcast. And so the idea of starting one has always been very like, I've not really been interested in it. But so I'm AgroBlaze or Zack, and this is my cousin Kyle, the Woodshed, and we both stream on YouTube. We both make videos. We do all the content kind of stuff. And the idea of us starting a podcast together seemed really fun to me because we are 4 days apart in age. That is like not like years, not anything, like literally 4 days apart. We have been friends and enemies our entire lives at this point. So as adults, it's just a lot of fun to be able to sit down and to just BS and talk about anything. Kyle has prepared a series of questions tonight that we're going to go through and we're going to talk about, but we're going to focus on Marvel Rivals tonight. If you guys are in the gaming space, you've been playing games, Marvel Rivals has really dominated the gaming space over the last few months. It's only been out a couple months, right?
That's right. It's only been out a couple months. It's free to play on Steam and all consoles as far as I'm aware. And like he said already, I'm going to echo his sentiment, though. Just welcome everybody. If you guys are just stumbling upon us, it's lovely to have you guys here. We both have our own individual channels also, so make sure you check us out individually. Especially whichever one you like more. It's going to be Zack, but I'm going to hope at least one or two of you come say hi to me. But it's lovely to have you guys. So we're going to do Marvel Rivals, right? And we're going to start this one off relatively simply. This one's pretty easy. We're going to do best character. Who do you think is the best character just in their own space, regardless? And we're going to do worst. We're just going to start off. You're going to go. I'm going to go. We're going to tell each other you're wrong, and this is why. Go ahead.
So when you say best, you mean like from a like
your favorite?
Yeah, not my favorite. Okay, that's what I wanted to make sure.
Best. Who is like, man, this person you should have on your team every time, no matter what. This should be who you want.
Somebody you should have on your team every time, no matter what.
If you say Spider-Man, I'm gonna have a shirt.
Man, what any viewership we got would have been gone out the window in the first 30 seconds of the video.
Keep in mind, by the way, what's your rank in Rivals?
I'm like gold 2, gold 3, something like that. Like
I'm bronze 1. Keep in mind, we're not professional players by any means. Right? We're both adults. We're 28 years old right now. All right, I have a kid. He's married. I'm just saying.
I do not have the time to sit and play games as much as I would like to anymore.
Exactly. Best and worst.
All right. Best character, somebody you should always have on your team is Cloak and Dagger. Cloak and Dagger's ult is absolutely insane. It recharges super fast as a healer. She has the bubble to heal multiple people. The shield is absolutely crazy. And when you have another healer ult going, you can flip and you can start playing offense with Cloak. Mm-hmm. So I think Cloak and Dagger is the best. Like, you should have her on your team at all times.
Agreed. Very much agreed. I think she's getting a small nerf in this next update. The one that brings the thing in Human Torch, which we're recording the day or two before that goes live.
Yeah, that comes out in a few hours, actually.
Yeah, that comes out so I think he's right. I think even post nerf, because her ult is going to recharge a little slower, but I still think she's going to be by far the best. The amount of healing output she can have, I think, is just second to none, along with the versatility of countering however many ults, right? The amount of healing her ult does in damage, you're just zoning. Plus, Cloak can, hide half the team away from other ults like Jeff's, even though Jeff's not something you run into a lot of high levels. But just the versatility, agreed. Cloak and Dagger, fantastic.
I think she's absolutely amazing. Okay, worst hero in the game.
I'm gonna push you off with mine.
I'm like running through all of the heroes right now, thinking about like the worst heroes in the game. I'm like trying to see the like bar of heroes across the top when we're selecting. I'm trying to think. I don't know. I don't like Venom. I think Venom is not great, to be honest.
But he serves a purpose.
I guess if I had to pick one, and I know that this is such an overplayed card, I would say Black Widow. Like, I think Black Widow just... I've played it with a couple of good Black Widows in like ranked and quick play a couple of times, but I think overall Black Widow is just the worst like character DPS there is in the game.
That's not that's reasonable.
I think if she had the one shot,
I think if she had the one shot headshot ability, I think it'd be a totally different.
100%. Yeah, she's not right. Widowmaker. She's not Widowmaker, and that's all I'm going to say about it.
She's a budget Widowmaker. She's K1 Widowmaker.
Exactly.
All right, so the worst real character, right? And I'm only saying this person is the worst character compared to the other options there are in this class.
Oh God, here we go.
You guys ready? Who's ready? It's Rocket.
No, get the fuck out of here, dude.
Hear me out. Hear me out.
All right.
Okay. Rocket is the only ult of all the healers, the strategists, that for one, doesn't just say, fuck you, we're being alive right here, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Okay.
The only one that doesn't. The only other exception you could say is Loki, and Loki can take anything and say, screw you.
I was like, yeah, Loki's ult is just so versatile.
And Jeff's is, I hope you're spacing well. Rocket doesn't do a lot of individual healing. If a Rocket is the only healer you have to keep you alive in a fight, you're screwed. 100% of the time. And there's no healer that does a worse job of keeping one individual person alive.
No, absolutely. So Rocket is the best AoE healer in the game. Because he just hits so much. But when you're one-on-one fighting someone, you want Cloak and Dagger, you want Mantis, you want Luna, you want pretty much like Invisible Woman, anybody besides Rocket in your corner trying to keep you alive.
Correct.
So...
And you could make the argument for like Warlock or Mantis, but I genuinely think because he does a lot of area healing, but not a lot of total healing. Like if I'm Cloak and you're Strange, I could keep you alive. If you're Strange and I'm Rocket, you're in trouble.
Yeah, no, I get that. And I think the other thing for Rocket that like kind of like takes away from him is I know when if people hear this, they're gonna say, well, his ult counters like other healer ults, and to some extent it does. Like, the damage buff is really powerful, and you can use it to win a lot of team fights. But I would almost just rather have the Luna ult or the Invisible Woman ult, at all times, 100%. As opposed to Rocket's ult.
Because the number of times that, like, I've hit a Cloak ult or I've hit a Luna ult, and I've just said, Zack, walk forward.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like, verbatim, this is what he says to me when we're playing ranked at night.
Yeah, just walk forward. Zack, come to me. We're going. Back up, go forward.
Absolutely. 100%.
Just make that call to him, but you can't do that with Rocket. And although, again, it has its purpose, right? Like, I think if you're running 3 healers in meta, which does happen sometimes, I think Rocket's great, but I don't think he's worth, like, I think if you're running 3 healers, you're better off running, like, the DPS Jeff that I see, like, a lot of people trying to at high level.
Yeah, I get that. I completely understand that.
He does a lot of damage. And can still put out some healing.
The one time, like, that I say, like, I really like Rocket over other healers is when you play and you have people who like auto lock on to Bucky and the Punisher. If you're getting both of the team ups at the same time, you can actually do some crazy damage. But again, it's still more of an offensive game plan than it is keep you alive game plan when you're playing the game. So
and not that I have a problem with that, but I don't know that the team up is warranted because then you're also relying on those 2 people to be that good, right? So like, and I hate to say it because I've seen so many Punishers, because Punisher should be the easiest character for anybody who's ever played like a shooter. Yeah, and sadly it's just not. And I can't believe how many Punishers I see weren't that good. I'm like, wow. Not only would I not have wasted a team up on you. I'm not gonna be mean and tell you guys what I think, but you get the idea.
Yeah, right? No, for sure. So, I completely understand.
Every time I see an install like DPS and I see the immediate request for a team up, I'm like, wow, I'm going to go to as great a lengths as possible to avoid this group Jeff team up that you want. I cannot believe that you're doing this to me.
Yeah, it can be very frustrating when people are like requesting this and it's like, dude, this is not even that good of a teammate. Just play a better character.
Yeah, absolutely. But that actually does bring us to a pretty good segue to the next question.
Okay.
How do you feel about role queues? I did mention the three healer meta, which is kind of a thing. How do you feel about role queues? Kind of like Overwatch did, where that was rather it be a 2-2-2 or a...
I have a very, very dramatic take on role queues. When we first started playing Overwatch, back in the day, and they added role queues, I thought they were a very positive thing. Mm-hmm. Since we have been playing so much Marvel Rivals over the last couple of months, I am a firm believer that role queues are what killed Overwatch. And I know that Overwatch isn't like dead per se, but I think role queue is terrible for the game. It forces people into a certain thing. Now, I understand why some people think it's cool because it does force people to not just auto lock DPS and it gets you a balanced team when you're playing. But the more I've played, the more I kind of like 2 healer, 3 DPS, and a solo tank. Or I like 3 healers and like 1 tank or, something like that. So
Yeah.
I think role queues is ultimately bad for the game.
Really? You think it's bad for the lifespan or the playability of the game?
Probably both.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not a fan, and I think I differ from a lot of people on that. But yeah, I really dislike role queue.
So I think you're partially right. I think role queues are actually I think they're a good and a bad thing, right? I think for ranked, I think the people who want to take it more seriously, they should have that role queue.
Okay.
There should be, and this is going to be something we're going to compare Rivals to Overwatch a lot. I played a lot of Overwatch.
Okay.
They should have an option to send it no role queues or a role queued option. Rivals is a free to play game, and they have the player base. They can do both. They can do, okay, you want a role queue, you can queue the specific role. Here's what happens. Or they should have a free for all. Pick whatever you want, see what happens.
So I worry if you have a ranked like lobby and you say, oh, you can pick role queues or you cannot. I worry that you end up with people who ultimately become frustrated because they are sitting in the role queue, match queue waiting time, like 3-4 times as long as people who are just sending it. Because I've been watching a lot of people who stream lately, and like, when they get into like Grandmaster and Celestial and stuff like that, they're waiting. Sometimes, 2 or 3 minutes for role queue, or like for games. And if you're adding role queue to that, I worry that you're taking that wait time to like 6 to 10 minutes sometimes. And I think that drives your player base away or forces them into playing the not role queue section. And maybe, I don't know, like maybe that, I don't know. You have such a hard time. Like, I think you either have to be role queue or not. I don't know that you could have both.
So hear me out, right?
Okay.
So Overwatch had a system, I assume they still do, I don't know if they still do, where it tells you how long your estimated wait time is, right?
Yeah, I remember that.
Which I think they should do. Here's the thing, right? Although for like high level players, it would slow down their games a lot, right? Would you say gold or platinum or diamond? Do you think it would really slow down your games in role queue? Not a lot if it would, right? Probably not.
Probably not in gold. No.
So it's almost like this is an issue that a lot of games have, especially games like ones that I'm specializing in, like Clash, where they cater to the higher end of the player base. So like I don't respectfully to all the Celestials and One Aboves Alls and Grandmasters, the 0.5% of players. I don't care if you have longer queue times if it makes my games and the other 98% of the population's easier. We shouldn't cater to the professionals and the borderline professionals of a game for the regular player base.
I mean, and like to kind of extend on that, it doesn't make sense for, the company to cater to that 1% from a like financial point of view, because the people that are playing your game, like, the other, like, 90% of the people that are playing your game are, bronze or silver or gold, or maybe they play in plat every season, but they're not getting to this like Grandmaster and Celestial rank. And so if you're making their life better, then you're probably making the game's life better. But I don't know, like, I guess it just depends from like an organized play point of view. I guess at that level, when you're like playing in tournaments and stuff, you're not worried about role queue because you're rolling up with 6 people on a team and like everybody knows what they're playing beforehand. So
what you're playing with, right? You know what you can and can't do, right?
Right, exactly.
But nobody's going in there as a Magneto one trick, right? Like
exactly, yeah, for sure.
There is versatility among the people, right?
Yeah,
I think that's pretty reasonable. But that's a fantastic segue. This is making my life so easy. Do you think Rivals is an Overwatch 2 knockoff? How do you feel about that?
I mean,
you knew that was going to be on here. You knew I was going to ask that.
So I felt like that was like a guaranteed question at some point that I knew was coming. I mean, I feel like if like, the answer has to be yes, like if you're not going to break it down, because it's the same game. Like it's literally like Overwatch, except they've slapped Marvel characters on it. Like, and I'm not, but at the same time, like, Call of Duty is almost virtually the same as it was 15 years ago. Not literally, but in some level. So like as you transition over games, they all look very similar because we've already established as people what we like from a gaming community point of view.
Yeah.
But in the sense that like the game has a lot of like, the game feels very original to me, I guess. And maybe I think that's for two reasons. One, I played Overwatch, but I never like dove into Overwatch like everybody else did. I didn't play a ton of Overwatch. And two, I really love Marvel. Like the fact that I love Marvel means that I think I naturally very enjoy this game, and it gives I get that pull to it.
And there's a ton of characters in here that you've never even heard of or seen. Like you didn't know who Jeff the Landshark was before Rivals came out.
Exactly. And so I think the answer has to be yes, but I would say no from an authenticity like point of view. I don't think it's just a knockoff. But I mean, I think ultimately, like if you're saying no to this, you're like delusional.
Yeah. I agree, but I'm gonna caveat that a little bit in the same time, and I'm gonna surprise you with the reference I'm gonna make here. People say that it's an Overwatch 2 knockoff, like that's the worst thing in the world. First of all, Kobe stole all of Michael Jordan's moves, right?
Sure.
And I got no beef with that. But Overwatch wasn't the original game to do that. They're a knockoff of Team Fortress 2.
Right. Yeah.
Built the exact same way. So people say that like it's a bad thing to be the knockoff. Is it a bad thing to be a knockoff of the knockoff? Because then Overwatch is the knockoff. How does that really work? They took something and they've changed it. And I think what makes Rivals better than Overwatch is showing how the developers have listened to the community and have already nerfed and added stuff, which is something that, God, there are so many game creators who just don't understand that. I'm talking to you, Activision. They just don't get it, right? They don't listen to the player base to such an extent, right?
100%. I could not agree more. When you have a developer team or just an organization that runs a game in general that is willing to listen to its player base and take that and run with it. Now, obviously, you can't do everything players suggest because players are irrational at times. But, you take that and you listen to your community and you get a community that loves you and will play your game forever. Like, absolutely. So 100%. Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Now, I got one more real Overwatch question, right? One more real related one.
All right, hit me with it.
All right. Now, and this stems from an issue that Overwatch dealt with, and they made a change, and I think this change would actually be better for the game. But I think a lot of people aren't going to like this.
Okay.
Do you think they should go to 5 heroes like Overwatch did? The reason I pose this question is Overwatch did it originally because fights were taking too long. And so there was 1, 2, or 3 real big team fights when there was 2 tanks and then all the healers.
Mm-hmm.
This game, tanks are so strong, you might not need 2 tanks. You don't half the time.
I was like, yeah, a lot of games I play, we don't even have 2 tanks.
So do you think that 5 heroes might be more reasonable? And army comp, just for clarification, will be 1 tank and then 2 and 2? Or something of that variation?
This is really interesting. So...
I'm with 1. You see that, everybody? I got him with 1.
I think that having 6... allows your player base to be more creative with their strategies they approach the game with. Mm-hmm. Because when I started playing Marvel Rivals, if you'd have told me that playing 1 tank, like 2 DPS and 3 healers was a good strategy, I'd have laughed at you. I'd have been like, why? Mm-hmm. That makes no sense. But now at a high level, it's the comp strategy for most people.
Right.
And I think that you having 6 heroes on one team or 6 players allows your player base to be more creative and to explore how they want to. I think it gives you more space to be creative when you're building your team. And it also gives you more space to swap mid-game and have better results. Like, so if you say we're going to go into the game playing 2-2-2 and then we swap to 1-2-3 or 1-3-2 midway through the game.
2-1-3.
Yeah, it could work. And I think when you go to 5 players on a team, you have less of that because you're gonna have more of 1-2-2, and people are gonna say, "Oh, Luna's not working. I'm gonna swap to Invisible Woman," instead of saying, "Oh, I'm gonna swap and play DPS now to help kill this person." We have to have 2 healers, so you can't really do anything else like that.
That's a fair point.
I think ultimately it would be bad for the game, but I could see from like a competitive point of view where people want to take some of the variance out of it, they would make it. They could do that.
I think that's actually a fantastic point, right? That's not something I considered because when I considered this, right, I didn't consider the variance in army compositions because I do genuinely like the 2-2-2. Although I don't mind a like a 2-1-3 every once in a while, just depending on, right? But that's something I hadn't considered though, to be honest. I actually do really like the idea of it on like a high level play.
Sure,
but that's just because of how strong tanks are.
No, I agree. I mean, like Strange and Magneto are getting like nerfs, in the update coming up in a few hours or whatever. Like, and it's just because tanks are like insanely overpowered. I mean, I'm not gonna say they're like broken, but like ranges like long distance attack has no damage drop off.
Yeah,
he's a tank. That's crazy. That is wild to me. So I I agree. I think playing one tank is fine. And a lot of people, even in like the gold lobbies that I've been in, we've swapped to playing one tank in a lot of lobbies because you don't need a second one.
Right. If your healers are doing good. And you know what? Honestly, I like your point there, just for the versatility and the difference in gameplay. If you don't like roll queues, that makes sense. I give you credit for that one. So we're going to go to something talking about really strong characters, right?
Okay.
This is something I do a lot of, but Zack doesn't as much. Do you think counter swaps should be more of a thing? So swapping characters to specifically get rid of another character.
So the other night, I'm gonna tell a story within my answer here.
Okay.
The other night we were playing with Diablo. Diablo is a friend of ours for everybody who doesn't know. And we were playing Marvel Rivals. Yeah, exactly, classic Pat. And we were playing Rivals, and there was a Spider-Man who was tearing our asses alive. I mean, he was murdering our backline the entire game. Instead of being the second tank, I was playing Penny. I swapped to Luna so that he could play Namor, and we shut that Spider-Man shit down. So we ended up playing a third healer, and we ended up, and Namor gets the buff with the, slow you down, freeze you turret, or whatever the hell it is. Yeah. And it really we ended up winning the game because both of us were willing to swap and make that happen in the middle of the game. And so I think that counter swaps are actually a phenomenal thing. Now, to some extent, like, you need to be playing characters you feel comfortable with. And if you don't know how to play a character, like, especially at a lower rank, like if you're silver or gold or bronze, just play whatever you're best with. It's your best bet at getting out of low ranks. But as you get up there, I think like once you get to like gold or plat, or like, especially if you're in like Grandmaster, you should be counter swapping probably most games to try and make something work.
I would like to rephrase slightly then.
Okay.
I think obviously counter swap should be a thing, right?
Okay.
And they are. I want to pose this more of, do you think Rivals should adjust characters to have more hard counters?
Ooh.
Like, there are counters, right? Like Namor to the Spider-Man with that extra turret, right? Made it really annoying, slowed him down. But do you think they should do stuff like that more often? Like, oh, you have a Wolverine, but because he has a Wolverine, I want to pick the Thing because the Thing can't be moved. He can only be stunned. He can't be moved. So should they do more hard picks like that in the game?
Man, that's such a tough question because, like,
got him. Fantastic one.
I want to say yes because you want the game to feel like chess on some level. Like, you want it to be not just can I aim better than you? Can I
like a rock paper scissors type deal?
Can I think better than you? But if you have too many characters that are just hard counters, at some point certain characters just get phased out. They become unplayable because it's like, well, yeah, exactly. But like, as you go through the game, you're saying, oh, okay, well, this character has 3 hard counters to it. Those 3 characters are 2 of the best 3 DPSs in the game. I can never play this character now. So I think having more of them is really good, but you have to be careful because if you start to just dump those into the game, it gets really awkward really fast for a lot of people.
I agree wholeheartedly. And I actually posed this question specifically, everybody, as a trap for Zack.
A trap.
Because I don't want them to make hard counters. I want them to have soft counters where you can still outplay this person if you're that much more skilled with them, even if you're at the disadvantage.
Yep.
because if it is just hard counter, it's going to do like he said. Like my original background in streaming and stuff come from Dead by Daylight, and there was dozens and dozens of perks, and you only ran 5 or 6 of them because the ability for them to bring this many things, these 4 or 5, is what gave you the best chance of survival, and they were the most versatile against all these different perks you could go against. I think he has a fantastic point.
I do remember that when we would play DBD, you would be like, play this. And I would be like, why? You would be like, shut up and play it. It works. Like,
yeah. and that was true, right? And I was, shout out to Dead by Daylight and Behavior, who I haven't played that game in forever.
If that game wasn't so toxic, we would still play it.
I hate that game so much. I played way too much of that game. So we're going to shift gears slightly, right? We've done enough comparison to Overwatch. That's enough of that. So everybody who hates Overwatch, you guys can be happy. We're going to stop talking about that for the most part. I want to take us to something I've seen a lot. So I've seen these videos, right, on J3's channel. Shout out J3. He's an old Overwatch guy. That's the last mention of Overwatch, I swear. And he does console versus PC lobbies of same ranks or close ranks.
Ooh, that's fun.
Do you think they should even have the separation, or should just let everybody play together? How do you feel?
I don't like that they have the separation like in ranked. Now, that might be because I hate that we can't play with some of our friends. Like, because, you know, like let's take Diablo, for example. You know, he's a very knowledgeable, like, Overwatch, like Marvel Rivals, like he understands the game, the strategies, like all the things.
Hero shooters, yeah.
Exactly. So hero shooters, he's really knowledgeable at, and I feel like we would do really well in ranked if we had a 4th person that we could play with. And it's unfortunate that we can't. So from a personal, like, do I want to play ranked with my friends' point of view? Yeah, absolutely. And you know, also, like, I don't really understand why there's the separation. Like, I guess part of me understands because when they came out with the game, there was literally things that PCs could just do better. Like the frame rates were just better. So like we could actually do more things. I think they have since patched some of those things to make it better. But when the game originally released, PC literally just had more movement and better things it could do. So maybe it makes sense like now, but if they get to a point to where the game's patched and a lot of those things are working for the same people who are using, you know, console or PCs, then maybe we just go to like open ranked play and everybody can play with everybody. But if there are significant advantages for PC, which normally there are in most games to some extent, then I think there should probably be that separation there.
I don't like the separation.
Okay.
Right. And hear me out. Right.
Let's have it.
I really think it's just because, and here's the thing, right? So I loved watching these videos, right? The first one I saw was console grandmasters versus PC grandmasters.
Okay.
And you won't believe it, the PC grandmasters absolutely beat the dog shit out of the console grandmasters. And I'm like, okay, so, you know, they'd go against, you know, what's the next rank below that? Just Masters? Is it Diamond?
Yeah, I think it's Diamond after below that, yeah.
So, and I think they played against Diamonds, and I think they lost to Diamonds.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, but these people wouldn't be that high of a rank if there wasn't that separation, so they could still get better. I think at some extent, first of all, I do think consoles or PC still has the advantage, because for one, the delay latency you get from controller or mouse.
Right. For sure.
PC to a console is different, right? I don't care what anybody says, and most people who've ever played will agree with me. When you go to PC or console from one to the other, there's a difference feeling, regardless.
It's a massive jump.
I'll never forget the first time playing on PC. I was at Zack's house. I played on his computer, and I said, "Holy shit, I'm moving too fast in Call of Duty." Because my brain couldn't figure out that there was just that tick of delay wasn't there.
There was actually, there was a massive change when we were playing Cold War, I think is what we were playing at the time when I bought my PC. And I remember my KD jumped from like 1.4 to over 2.
Yeah, like I think you went from 1.6 to 2.1.
Just from going to PC. This was still a controller. This was still everything. And since then, like we've added in the mouse and all the keyboard and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, playing on PC, there is a very big significant advantage. I do agree.
But I also think people who have aspirations to play at a high level are almost getting cut off on console because they're like, okay, what if there were console players who really were like PC grandmasters?
Sure.
But they'll never get to that level because they don't play against that level of competition.
Yeah, I mean,
Like, what if we had a pro who was a console player, like, be like, damn, this guy could be nutty if he was on PC. He's out here hanging with a pro scene, quote unquote. I don't think Rivals has a pro scene, but you get the idea.
Rivals definitely has a pro scene, by the way.
Does it now?
Yeah, there's like tournaments all the time. Like
I thought it was still too new. I didn't know that.
So they have like they stream on Twitch every now and again. They had like they called it like the North American Invitational, and they had like an EU one and like an OCS and some stuff like that. Yeah. So they're starting to like develop that like tournament scene, which is cool. Good. Like I'm glad to see that that's building up. So
100%, shout out. But I think it does shoot some console players who have aspirations to be higher level players. Because they don't get to see people like J3 or Flats or guys like that or Tim the Tapman, for Christ's sakes, who are Celestial and Grandmaster players, right? They don't get that chance to go against that type of competition, right?
Yeah.
And the player pool and I hate to cut you off, but the player pool at that top is so small that those guys have a queue time anyway. If you put them all together in the same lobby, the queue time would go down. Not only would they get to play against better competition and have more fun playing against some of their favorite people in the world, everybody would have a lower queue time.
Yeah, no, I mean, I say let them play. Fuck it, we ball. Let them play.
Let them play. Let them play. All right. So we got that. They're separated. Now, we talked about Rivals being such a new game, right?
Yep.
And the predecessors to this game have been around for a long time, right? TF2 is still a game.
I mean, I was like, TF2's been around forever.
And it's still around. It doesn't have quite the player base, but it's still around, right? Sure. What potential do you think Rivals has to stick around like its predecessors? What do you think it needs to do to stick around? Plus, what do you think it can? Or do you think it'll get overshadowed by something? Do you think DC Rivals will overshadow it someday?
So I think, I think Marvel's way more popular than DC.
By the way,
like I was like, people love DC, and like I get it. I'm not saying like I have my DC characters I like, but Marvel as a whole has dominated TV shows, movies, everything for the last 20 years. And because of that, Marvel is this thing that we love as just people. We love it. And so I think Marvel Rivals has like real potential to go the distance. They are, like we talked about this earlier, they're listening to their player base. I talked about the nostalgia earlier. Like if nothing else, people like me love the nostalgia. You love the idea of playing these people that you've watched movies of and TV shows and that they bring you this joy. And even from a casual point of view, I think that it's very easy for people to enjoy. So I really, really think that Marvel Rivals has the ability to go the distance. And I think they've started out in a very positive light. And they just have to keep listening to the player base, keep adding these characters that people love. I can't tell you how many conversations I've had over the last like 2 to 3 weeks where people have been like, dude, the Human Torch, the Thing. Like when they come out, like people are stoked because it's so exciting no matter what your personality is, whether you're a tank lover or a DPS lover or a healer, they've got something for everybody. And plus the Marvel character pool is so deep. There's so many characters that Stan Lee's created. So I think Marvel Rivals can and will go the distance. Absolutely.
Rest in peace. I think you got a good point. I think it's just going to be a matter of, because for one, I think because just it's Marvel, he's got a point, right? I think it'll be able to stick around just off of, we adding this guy, we're adding this guy.
The name carries so much weight by itself.
The name carries a lot. And I think as long as they continue to listen to their player base, I think they'll do really well. I don't know what you said, go the distance. It's hard for me to imagine go the distance for a game like this. Because it's just player retention at this point, right? Like there's a point where it's like you can't gain more players than you have, right? You've had like 1.2 million active players. I'm just throwing out a number out of my ass.
Sure.
But like you've had so many active players. Now we just need to retain as many of those as humanly possible.
So
how do we do that?
I guess
right?
Where do we label going the distance? Because like when you think about like I think of like a game like Fortnite, I would say that game has gone the distance. You know, it's been one game. It's been around for what, 8 years now, something like that. Came out in 2017 or something like that, I think. So it's 8 years old, and there's still millions of people that play that game. I think Fortnite has gone the distance, but I do
It
think
might even be older than that, to be honest.
something like
I
that,
don't,
somewhere in
I
that
don't know. I don't
ballpark.
know exactly, but it's old.
But
It feels old at this point.
Fortnite is like, Fortnite is the exception to most rules, in my opinion. Fortnite is like 12
Yeah.
games within one game. But, like, I think that Fortnite is a great example. And do I think that we could still be playing Marvel Rivals every night of our lives, 5 years from now? No, probably not. But are we still firing up Marvel Rivals and playing for fun and quick play, a few years from now? Yeah, I think so. Absolutely.
I would define. Let's do it this way then. I would personally define going the distance of what would you say is the best thing a game can do? For me, I would say there's a generation or people that grew up playing this game.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll say, no matter what, damn, I miss these days, right? There's going to be those kids for Fortnite. There's those kids for Call of Duty. There's the kids for Halo.
Yep.
Do you think Rivals has that potential to go, damn, man, I really miss when the OG Marvel Rivals come out before anything, whatever happened to it, man. It really was. That's my version of going the distance. Can it impact I don't want to say a generation, but an age group like that? Maybe I'm being too narrow with you here.
It could. It could, because I think there's an entire generation who is growing up with parents our age, or maybe a little bit older than us, that love comic books and they love the Marvel movies. And so maybe they're playing Marvel Rivals with their kids because it's this fun superhero game where they get to like fight and do stuff like that. So it's possible. I don't know. It's hard for me to look at any game and say, yeah, kids are gonna feel that way about that game the way I feel about Halo. Like, it's tough for me to envision that. So, I don't know.
Which Halo?
Oh, my favorite will always be the first one, just for nostalgia purposes.
Really?
Yeah, I think peak Halo gameplay for me, like at its top, when I enjoyed the game the most, was Halo 3.
I would agree. You know what? Maybe we'll do that as another episode. We'll do a Halo one.
I love it.
We'll put that on there because
we need to throw Halo on the calendar.
We need to not linger on that too long.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay, so we've done that. All right, so let's do this one, right? And this one's pretty easy. And I hate that we're doing this so close to the update, because one of the answers I originally had, I had to look up other Marvel characters because they're answering this question for me.
Okay.
Is who do you want them to add?
Who do I want them to add?
I'll go first so you can think.
Yeah, go ahead.
My original one was The Thing.
Okay.
The Thing and the Human Torch were always my favorite characters of the Fantastic Four. And when I saw that they brought Sue Storm and Mr. Incredible, I was like, you're kidding me. No, what? Like, I know he looks like, he looks like the pile of driveway I just ran up on, right? But like, come on, what the hell? Right, I was mad about that. But The Thing was the one I probably wanted the most. Now, and this is after a little bit of research, I will admit, this is some bias coming from me. And if you know me, you'll know this is why. Marvel actually did a comic series with Hercules based on Greek mythology.
Oh, that's cool.
And I would love to see him as a type of bruiser, whether it be a tank or a dive DPS. I'd love to see him be added. I think that'd be pretty cool.
That would be really cool. Yeah,
I think that's probably too Greek for Marvel or for the standards to want to put in, but I love the idea of it.
If that's an addition, that's years from now. I think there's too many other things that are, I would say, more mainstream they could hit on. But it would be cool nonetheless to see that. So it is ironic that the person you wanted to see most was The Thing, because the character I wanted to see most was the Human Torch. Yes. I love Chris Evans. I loved the Human Torch when I was a kid. He was always hilarious, and I really liked him. So they're adding the Human Torch, which is really cool. But the hero past that I would like to see them add would be Quicksilver. The whole speedster aspect of it, I really like. I can't remember his name in real life. The guy that played Quicksilver in the X-Men movies they did a few years ago, as the young kid. And we already have Wanda, Magneto's daughter. Adding Magneto's son would be this really flavorful thing to have in the game.
Flavorful.
Yeah, well, you know how it is. Those flesh and blood terms are coming out.
I like that.
But it would be fun to have a speedster in the game and having an ability where you kind of dash around and hit people. And I know there's a few characters that do that already. But I think Quicksilver would be a cool add.
Quicksilver's actually a fantastic pull, and something that we haven't really considered, and they're two characters that I don't know a lot from a comic book standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just something else to consider, right? Vision's not in it. Ultron's not in it.
Yeah.
Now, to be fair, I think Vision and Ultron are both one of those guys that you got to be like really careful with how you do.
Oh,
Because I
100%.
immediately think of the beam like Iron Man has, and him just being like, "Well, good luck getting to me,"
Yeah.
But those are two other characters. Ultron, especially, I would love to see. Shout out Vision.
I would
Very
love.
underrated in all the movies.
I would love to see Ultron. Ultron's like one of my like favorite villains from the Marvel universe.
He gives kind of Joker vibes almost, but like
Yeah, for sure. Plus, I love
It's
James
pretty
Spader. James Spader's. Ugh, I love James Spader.
all right, we got a couple more things here, right?
Let's hit him.
All right. Who do you like the most? What character do you like the most, and what character do you hate the most?
Character that I like the most.
Like them, your favorite character.
Like-
I don't care what the reason. I don't care if they look good in spandex. I don't care if you like how stretchy you think he could be.
We're talking about Rivals, not Marvel as a whole. We're talking about Rivals
Correct.
specifically.
We're talking about Rivals.
My favorite character to play, like in the game.
You don't even have to be to play, just general.
So I would say that my favorite character to play from a gameplay point of view is Penny Parker. I really like the tank role. I like Penny. The whole mine, like stun ability is very powerful. From a gameplay, I really like Penny. My favorite character in the game is Squirrel Girl. Like, she has some of the funniest lines in there. No, get out of here. Get out of here. That's not even it. Get out of here. Miss me with that.
I want to see his models now. I want to see it right this second. I'll see you run over the game, Zach.
Oh my God.
Go ahead.
I love her like taglines. Like she says, "We bonk the onk" and things like that. And I'm gonna be honest, the idea of throwing nuts at people is hilarious.
It just makes you think of Carly, just be honest.
It does, because Carly goes, "Hold my nuts" when we're playing, and she starts killing people, and it's hilarious. And I love it. So Squirrel Girl's probably my favorite character to play in the game.
Okay, and you said Penny was your favorite to play.
Yeah. So Penny's my favorite to play, and Squirrel Girl's probably my favorite character in the game.
So my favorite to play is Loki.
That does not surprise me at all.
It won't surprise a lot of people, and the reason, and he's my persona. I'm an agent of chaos. I'm the definition of chaotic neutral.
That is the freaking truth.
I love to get to play the healer. I love to clone myself and make people think there's more in me and just be annoying.
Yeah.
I also like to take people's abilities. And my best example is I cloned Diablo out. Again, our buddies were playing quick play, and I took Strange when we had no healers, but we were about to win the fight. And I just started chasing him with his melee. And I said, "I'm whipping that ass." And Diablo's like, "Oh, so I gotta not get any heals because you want to whip people." And I was fighting like a Wolverine and a Wanda or something.
Oh, it's amazing.
And so you get to have your cake and eat it too. It feels kind of nice that way.
Yeah, for sure.
My favorite. Oh man, that's tough. My favorite is probably Groot. No, Jeff.
Yeah, I was literally going to be like, if you say anything other than Jeff, you're a dirty liar.
So here's the thing, right? I do love Groot because I also think I fit the Groot persona. Every time I play Groot, the only thing I say is I am Groot, more or less.
He does that a
I
lot.
might let an actual couple real call outs slip out, but for the most part, it's just I am Groot. But Jeff, and it realistically, dude, it's the ult. It's only the ult. It's swallowing 5 people, 2 of them being teammates, and walking off the map. I don't actually do that. Most of the time, I spit my teammates out. Most of the time, and just like, you know what?
Most of the time, he killed me. He has killed me,
and I'm going to do it later today too. But it's just that, just being like, you know what? No, I've eaten you. We are going to die together. Let's all hold hands. And so Jeff feels also pretty chaotic to me, and I enjoy it a lot.
He is. Jeff is very chaotic neutral. Well, I would say he's chaotic, like, positive, I guess. Like, I don't know. Like, because he's healing people. But, like, do you know how frustrating it is when you're playing a game and you have to hear, "Yummy, yummy," and then all of a sudden you're flying off the map? Like,
no, but dun, 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 that gets me every time. All right, most hated character.
Most hated character.
Yeah, for one reason or another, rather they counter you so much or that you think they're just god awful. Who is it?
So I think I have my answer. So my most hated character is probably Moon Knight. I really enjoy playing Moon Knight. But man, do you know how sick I get of hearing the moon haunts you? And then like I'm running for my life, dude.
Moon Knight was on my list of who I enjoy playing the most. I love Moon Knight because I think
Enjoy playing Moon
whatever
Knight. Hate playing against Moon Knight.
I see this meme all the time, and it's my favorite. And it's Moon Knight, and he's holding up the Ankh.
Yeah.
And there was a mod for this, and I debated installing it, but I'm a putz, and I can't figure out how to because I'm a moron. And he just goes, "Here's some random bullshit," and he holds the Ankh in the or something like that. And I was like, I fucking love that voice line. I love everything about this game right now. I need that. I love that.
I would love to have that as part of the
Moon Knight
thing.
and it makes them so much more fun to play, right?
Oh, absolutely.
I think my most hated character is, I'm not gonna say Rocket. That's a lie. I was gonna say that just to troll you for half a second.
I was like, get out of here.
It might hurt me to say this because I love the character in movies and shows and comics. I think it's Cap.
I mean, dude.
I think it's Captain America.
Cap sucks.
Cap's not that strong. I am a healer main, by the way, strategist. Although I don't play a lot of ranks, so I apologize. My rank's not as high as Zack's, as I mentioned earlier. But he's just annoying. He's not that strong. Every time I find one, they heat seek me. And they never kill me. They're just up my ass the entire time. And I'm not getting paid for it. I'm not getting dinner. I'm not getting nothing out of it. So I'm tired of it. So you know what? And again, he's just not that strong. If he was stronger, he would just feel kind of like Venom, and I'd be like, whatever.
If his ult did anything, I mean, like, it's basically not die. That's what I hate so much about Cap. Because, like, the idea of playing a dive tank like that, where you can throw the shield and, like, you can be obnoxious, is not bad. But if you want to be an obnoxious dive tank, just play Venom. You're literally just better off playing Venom, in my opinion.
You know, I actually think he has. I think that this is going to be wild. I think that's actually his redemption, is his ult, because he has a healer's ult. He has a "fuck you, I'm not moving."
That's true.
For the next 12 seconds.
I mean, and his ult does like buff and like heal or like give a shield to the teammates. So it sucks.
It's annoying.
His ult sucks.
It's just it's just annoying. It's just annoying. But all right. So we're coming to our closing segments, everybody. For those of you who don't know, we are going to kind of end a lot of these in a similar fashion. We're going to try it first. I want us to do hot takes.
Okay.
Oh shit, he's been thinking about this. Hold on.
So I knew this one was coming. I knew hot takes was coming.
We did discuss this one beforehand. We had hot takes and a couple other things on the agenda. So hot take.
My biggest hot take is that you should not be able to ban characters in ranked once you get to a certain level. So for anybody who does not know, when you're playing Marvel Rivals, when you get to a certain rank, I think it's Plat or Diamond, I can't remember, you are able to, as a team, vote to ban other characters from the match. Meaning
save a couple.
Yeah, your team and the other team cannot play them. I think they should take that shit out of the game. If you don't want something broken in the game and you want people to vote on it, nerf it, buff something else. I don't think that should be a factor in the game. Is it cool and authentic? Yes. I hate it. I absolutely hate it.
So he's like, you know what? This was a neat idea. I'm glad you guys tried it. Fucking stop.
Yeah.
Let's not do it.
100%.
I wholeheartly disagree. I love the ban system just because it forces some versatility, right? So you can target ban certain people, especially at high levels. But
it does stop one tricks,
which I do like. I got a good one.
All right, hit me.
I got a good one. I think we should ban more than 2 characters.
Wow.
I think we should be able to ban 3, and I think you should be able to ban 1 from each category.
So not only was my hot take that I didn't want to be able to ban people, Kyle said, fuck it, let's add another one. So if you're going to add another one, do you think it should only be 1 from each category? Or can your team vote to ban 3 DPS?
No, I'd say if you add one, I say there has to be 1 from each category.
So off the top of my head, if you have 3, Strange, almost immediately, I would say. Strange or Hulk, probably.
Until the thing comes out.
Yeah, that's true.
Because God knows how he'll change the meta.
Luna or Cloak, pretty much off the top.
Yep.
Storm is on that list somewhere. And obviously it depends. Like if you're playing against the same people all the time, like you know who's one tricks and who's not. But like I think Storm is just like Storm, Hella maybe. Nah, I don't know, man. Maybe I don't know. Definitely, definitely Storm.
Hear me out. Right. So you're saying you'd ban all these characters, right? And this is kind of a catering to the top end, right? It's where I guess I should have prefaced this, right? I want to ban 3 total characters, not 4, not 6, right? I don't want each team to ban 3. I want 3 banned total, and I just want 1 from each. And I just want it to be a total lobby vote, right? Before you even split up teams, let there be a pregame lobby before you even split up teams and just start banning shit, right?
Interesting.
The reason I like banning 1 of each is because it's really giving you the option to pick who and what you're doing, right?
Okay.
So let's say, for example, your team comes out and you have 2 of the best DPS on the opposing team, period. You have the number 1 Wolverine and you have the number 1 Hela on the other team. You can only pick 1.
Right.
I don't like that you can be able to handicap, quote unquote, an entire team
by being able to ban Hela and Wolverine.
Right. I want you to be able to have to pick 1 from each category. Maybe just let it be an entire lobby vote and just see what happens.
Okay. That's interesting. I have to admit, that's a pretty hot take.
That's not please don't add that. But I think it'd be interesting. I think it'd be fun for the higher level guys. And screw them, I'm never going to be there, so that's okay.
I mean, for sure, I get that.
So we did kind of answer one of these each. So I'll tell you what, I'll change one, and I'll change it for you.
Okay.
So the questions I have next are: what would you add to Marvel Rivals? I already answered that. I tried to add an extra slot.
Okay.
And the one after that is what would you take away? Zach tried to take away the selection, so we'll change it up. Zach, what would you add? And I'll tell you guys what I would take away after that.
What would I add to Marvel Rivals? And like it can be almost like almost anything, right? Like
a feature, a character, a game mode, anything. You really have the variety. If you want to, I can go first to give you a second.
Go ahead.
So mine is going to be what would I take away? Because I tried to add things, right?
Okay.
What would I take away from Marvel Rivals? The ban system. No, I'm just kidding. What I would take away to counterspin the adding the extra slot, and I'm doing this in conjunction with that, right? So let's say you, in theory, right, you have the 3 slots in this scenario. I want you to take away the ability to save one. Okay. I want this to be no matter what happens. This is totally, you know what? You can strategize completely and ban this. And you know what? And I'll even add to it. I want there to be a ban, but the ban only goes for 1 team. So maybe we do get 6 bans. But the ban only happens for the opposing side. So if I ban Hela, only the opposing team can't play Hela.
Interesting.
I'll make that, and that's really fucking complicated, so they'll never do it, and they never should, because that's really convoluted.
It would be cool, though.
It's an interesting idea.
It would force both teams to get rid of who they don't want to see. Yeah.
That's right.
So that's an interesting concept.
Anybody, right? So it's like, oh man, I can't pick these guys because of Wolverine. Well, we can't save Wolverine, so they're just going to ban it, right? Okay, well, shit, you got to plan around that.
Yeah. All right, something I would add. All right, so this kind of like this is probably just like me. I'm gonna put my tinfoil hat on for a second here. Is what I'm gonna say. I want there to only be 1 healer ult each round. Like I would add it to where you have a limited number of healer ults each round, specifically healer ults only. So like. If you have 2 healers, each of them can only ult. But here's the thing that I want to add with this. When your teammate swaps to healer, they have not healer ulted. So you are requiring each person on your team to cycle through healers if you want to have more than just like 2 or 3 healer ults in a round.
That's some of the wildest shit I've ever heard in my life. I'm not signing off on that one.
I want to force people to play everything.
Here's the he doesn't want roll cues though. So here's my only beef with that, right? That makes sense in domination. What about in push the payload? You telling me in these 15, 20-minute games I get one cloak ult and that's it?
Absolutely.
Fuck yourself. Get out of here.
People rely on healer ults too much.
Listen, I don't like you calling me out right here.
I'm one of them. I get it.
That's wild. I can't believe you said that. I mean, that's interesting, but like at 20 minutes, imagine there being like 2 cloak ults all game and that's it.
I love it.
And you know what? Bump it. Just because of that, you can't even copy the same healer's ults. It has to be different. So you're not getting 6 different cloak and dagger ults. Fuck you. I'm going to see a Jeff or I'm going to see a Mantis ult, and I haven't seen a Mantis player since the game dropped.
I think it actually adds a real strategic level of chess to it.
It does. I think you're full of yourself, though. I think that's the same.
They'll never do it. They'll never do it. There's no shot they'll ever do it.
I do like that, though.
It would be funny.
That is all the questions I had, though. Zach, is there anything you want to add before we sign off here?
No, I think we've added and taken away enough bullshit for Marvel Rivals here tonight as it is anyway.
This game is unrecognizable, but we do want to thank you guys so much for watching us. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, and let us know what other kinds of video ideas and what other topics y'all want to see us discuss in the comment section below. We appreciate you guys very much. And this is The Woodshed and...
and I'm AggroBlaze. Thanks for hanging out. Have a good night. We'll see you guys next time.
Good night, guys.